UK YouTuber Traplore Ross recently released a 4-hour documentary titled The Many Murders of Lil Durk, which explores the rapper's alleged involvement in various crimes, including 6 murders. The documentary examines Durk's connections to his hometown of Chicago and its violent cultures, diving deep into incidents such as deaths of FBG Duck, FBG Cash, Lul Pab, Jaski, Oil, and Stephon Mack. It also covers the tragic death of Durk's own brother, DThang, in June 2021. Ross asserts that these events have shaped Lil Durk's life, with some of the murders being personal, while others, like FBG Ducks, are portrayed more as methodical and professional. The documentary includes details sourced from public information such as rumors, lyrics, and legal documents, while also adding personal opinions. Durk, who is in federal custody facing a RICO case and a series of serious charges, have been denied bond, with a trial scheduled for January 7th. The documentary also touches on Durk's connections to the 2020 killing of his close associate, King Von, who was shot during an altercation outside of a nightclub. The documentary ends with a grim warning about Durk's self-incriminating statements in 2023, suggesting that it's only a matter of time before more details emerge. Traplore Ross has a history of producing investigative documentaries on Chicago rap, which have sometimes led to tension with some of the artists. Before his arrest, Durk had planned to release a new album, Deep Thoughts. Be sure to stay tapped in with the channel as we keep you in the loop. Again, here we global.
Sits in jail awaiting trial, he's left to confront the harsh reality of the many lessons he ignored, lessons that he could have learned from, the mistakes and tragedies of those closest to him. Durk's story should serve as a cautionary tale, a stark example of what not to be, especially for anyone fortunate enough to rise above the trenches. With dozens of people depending on him, including his own family, Durk had every reason to steer clear of the path he chose. He should have taken to heart the lesson etched into his own past with the incarceration of his father, but now his children will grow up without him, all for a revenge that didn't even need to happen. The fact is, King Von was a ruthless killer, and Durk should have never brought him into his inner circle. If Von was still alive today, it's very possible that he would be serving life for the murder of FBG Duck, and him and Durk may well have even faced trial for that attempted murder in Atlanta. Ultimately, Von lost his life after sucker punching another gangster rapper and grossly underestimating the consequences. Von was completely in the wrong that night, and Durk was completely in the wrong for allegedly trying to kill Quando and taking the life of an innocent young black man in the process. The facade of all my life, Durk pleading that his whole life people have been trying to take him down unfairly, has fallen apart. And if Durk ends up getting convicted of this murder for hire, he has only himself to blame, and he can't say that the media or society unfairly portrayed him. In fact, if he really did this, in many ways, he truly set his people back. Even Quando himself said on October the 27th, in an apparent reference to Durk's case, he'd expressed sorrow about how everything had worked out. He didn't want to have these issues with Von that night, and I know it's not easy for me to say, having never lost a friend under these circumstances, but Durk really should have killed his enemies with success rather than bullets. He was already a bigger artist than Quando. He didn't need to keep dragging this beef, but ego and bravado ultimately blocked his blessing. To at least give him some grace, if you put yourself in Durk's shoes, you might well have done the same thing. I haven't lost over 30 people to the streets. Becoming rich and having all of that money and the people around to pay to have your ops killed must have been incredibly alluring. And despite King Von being in the wrong when it came to that fight with Quando, when it comes to the murder of his blood brother DThang, I can only imagine the burning desire for revenge. But then when you look at the cases of FBG Duck and FBG Cash, that was nothing more than senseless gang warfare. Now all of these men's children have to grow up without their fathers around and their mothers without their sons. And that goes for LilDurk too. If he winds up doing life in prison for these murders, he, just like his own father, robbed his children of a priceless relationship. And perhaps that's part of the problem with this cycle of violence. Young men growing up without the right guidance or leadership to put them on the righteous path has led many to commit crimes that might not have otherwise happened. The problem with this is that Durk was really a two-faced example, flip-flopping between his persona of the voice and pushing a positive message for the youth trying to be a role model, but then in the same album, as that role model, with the ears of the youth open to him, he then took on his evil twin persona, pushing the violence, mocking the victims, and teaching the youth that murder and revenge is cool. All of this made Durk an incredible artist, but a flawed man. Durk ultimately isn't the role model that people thought he was, and that's the biggest tragedy here. So if I can end this video with one message, it's that there's nothing cool about taking lives. Nothing cool about spending your whole life looking over your shoulder, and nothing cool about spending decades in prison away from your friends and family. No amount of praying can protect you from judgment. So if you're a young person in a difficult position with hard choices to make, you ultimately should look at Durk as a shining example of what not to do. He seemingly made terrible choices and may well end up paying the ultimate price. It's truly heartbreaking to see what was supposed to be a shining example of getting out of the streets and doing something positive with your life wind up being shattered. At the end of the day, we need a lot more J Mains and a lot less Lil Durks so that the next generation can put the guns down